It's been a while. Hi, welcome here, welcome back. It's been a while since I have filmed a video. It feels like it's been ages. I think it's been maybe 2 months. Today is the 13th of February, so perhaps it hasn't been as long as it feels like it's been, but it feels like it's been ages, so I don't even know how to do this anymore. My name is Michaela. I am from British Columbia, Canada, and I have a husband and I have a daughter who is 2.5 years old. And yeah, this is my space on the internet where I talk about all things knitting and also some nature inspired stuff. I spend a lot of time outdoors and I spend a lot of time with yarn and needles in my hands. So this is kind of the space for that. I haven't filmed for a while for a few reasons. One is that we have been massively sick this winter season. I think that's just mostly because my husband is in his first year of teaching full time, so he teaches high school math and physics, and he's bringing just everything home from school. So we've had almost everything that I can think of that I would normally get in a winter season, or that people would normally get in a winter season, and it's been pretty hard. But right now we've been healthy for a couple of weeks now, so I'm hoping that it stays like that. Sorry, I keep looking down. My cat is just asking for a lot of attention down here. And I have a lot of projects right here, so I'm also just monitoring that. Anyway, it's been a while. So yeah, we've been sick, and then also I did try to film a video a few weeks back, but I had some issues with my autofocus. So basically the entire thing was out of focus. You were focused on the background the whole time instead of on my face and on the project. So I'm refilming that now. Hopefully I'll be able to do the refilm justice, or do it as well as I thought I did it last time. So we'll see. But anyway, we don't have loads of time because we are in the last 45 minutes before sundown, and it is a very, very, very gloomy, rainy day today. So that's why I'm sitting in this location. I usually sit on that couch there, and then I prop my camera up on the coffee table. You can't really see anyway, but it just feels a bit darker there. So I'm sitting in front of the window today so that hopefully we can use a little bit more of that natural light that's coming through. So yeah, as you can see, I have a finished object. I have a few finished objects, or two, but one of them is currently being used by my daughter, who is out grocery shopping with my husband at the moment. So I will have to insert some sort of B-roll footage, or maybe I'll insert myself talking about it later on. But this is the main finished object. It is my, oh gosh, what is this pattern called? Arctic Spring Lopi, I think, by Saskie & Co., who used to go by the Petite Knitter. And I am so pleased. This is perfect. I've been wearing it absolutely loads since finishing it. I will talk you through some of the details. So, if you've been following my channel for a little while, then maybe you remember the Lopi that I made for my husband last year. And that was with yarn that I had bought during our Iceland trip in 2022. So it's been 4 years. We went to Iceland for the second time. We've been twice. We went to Iceland for the second time in February of 2022, so 4 years ago. And during that trip, I saw all these beautiful Lopis, obviously, that people were wearing and that were selling in the stores. And they were gorgeous, and I wanted to make one for myself. So I went to a yarn store and I bought some Let Lopi yarn, but I didn't have enough room in my suitcase to buy a whole sweater's quantity of yarn. So I bought just the contrast colors for the colorwork yoke. And then I also bought the contrast colors for the colorwork yoke of my husband's version, because he also wanted one as well, since it was a trip that we took together. So he picked his colors. I'll pop a picture of his version that I finished last year here. And then I picked my colors. And I knew the whole time that whatever yarn I wanted to use for the main color, I wanted it to be in like a dark, dark gray. And so I'll explain my reasoning for these colors. I'll get a little bit closer so you can see, and hopefully my autofocus will be okay now. So there's one main color and there's 3 contrast colors, and this is actually more contrast colors than what's called for in the pattern. She only calls for 2, but I decided to split it to have 3. So we have here we go. Okay, we have a just white, which I picked out to represent the ice and the glaciers in Iceland. And then we have this green, which shows up every other row. So the white is every little motif, and the green is every other one. And the green represents the mossy landscape of Iceland. And then this red, sort of like a rusty red, is supposed to represent the lava or the fire or the volcanic activity. So I have that every other motif as well. And then the main color, I chose this based on the black sand of the black sand beaches. So these are the colors of Iceland that I chose. I was kind of debating on whether I wanted to add some like more vibrant greens for the northern lights or more bluish tones for the like blue of the ice in the glacier. But I don't like the color blue, so I knew that I wouldn't want that represented in my sweater. And then also I just didn't think that the moss and also the sort of more vibrant jet green of northern lights, like that, those colors wouldn't really pair well together, I feel like, and I prefer a mossy color. And I did see a lot of northern lights, but I saw a lot more moss than I did northern lights when I've been there. So I feel like that represents, and that also represents the summer experience as well. So if you go to Iceland in the summertime, you'll see moss, but you won't necessarily see northern lights. So anyway, to me, this represents Iceland really well. I'm super chuffed with how it turned out. Oh, there's a piece of grass or something in there. And the main color that I ended up going with is Peer Gynt by Sennis Garn. So that's the yarn that I decided to go with because I know that yarn is like just the perfect amount of rustic that's not too scratchy for my neck. So I went with that, and then I don't remember the colorway exactly, but it's the darkest gray that they have before black is the one I chose. So it has sort of, it just feels really kind of sheepy, and it's got sort of like lighter fibers in there as well. You can see that it's not just flat, the color. It's got a bit of dynamic to it. And then these colors as well have a lot of dynamic to them as well, but you can't really see that because it's knitted into the colorwork. Yeah, I guess I'll stand up so you can kind of see a little bit more of the details of what the bottom looks like. And I am just wearing a pair of black pajama pants. So as you can see, I decided to go with a split hem on the bottom because I am very pear-shaped. So my hips are quite wide, and any sweaters that I make really long either need to be very oversized or need to have a split hem because I can't, it hugs my hips too much to just have a normal fit for me that goes all the way down to my hips, if that makes sense. But I do knit a lot of cropped sweaters and cardigans just because of that. But I really wanted this sweater to cover my bum a little bit more so that it just has that extra warmth. This is my warmest sweater for sure, definitely. And I have been using it all winter since I finished it. So I actually casted this on the winter solstice, which I think was the 21st this year. I think it was December 21st or the 22nd. But anyway, on the solstice, I cast it on, and then I finished it in the second week of January, I think. So this was probably record-breaking for one of the fastest knits that I've ever, hand knits that I've done for adults. So I don't really know why that is, other than I got sick right after Christmas, and right as I got sick is when I just finished the colorwork yoke. So then I just had knitting in the round on the body to do for ages, and I can do that while I'm like laying in bed with a cloth on my forehead. So yeah, I had COVID and I had a fever for quite a few days, but I was able to kind of knit in the round, like stockinette in the round with my eyes closed for quite a while. So I think that probably helped me finish it really fast. I didn't intend to finish it fast. I wasn't rushing through it. I don't feel like I was, but I did end up finishing it quite quickly. So the modifications that I made for the pattern, oh yeah, this is the Arctic Spring Lopi by Saskie & Co. I think I knitted the size 4. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. I think I wrote it down on my Ravelry page, so if you're actually interested in the size, it will be there. But I did make some modifications. The first modification that I made was that I actually took out the first row of color work. I found, looking at the picture, that it just looked almost too busy. And so there's like the first row of color work is just a knit one main color, knit one contrast color, knit one main color, and it just so it just kind of looks like little tiny polka dots, if that makes sense. And then it kind of builds from there. So the next row has, or the next little section, I guess, has the 2 colors, and then the section after that, or like 2 rows of color work, and then there's a break. And then it's 3 rows of color work, and then it's a break. And then it kind of builds bigger and bigger and bigger as you go down. And I just found the first row was like a little bit too much. So I just omitted it completely, just knitted it regular main color in stockinette around. And I like it. I like this better. I don't want it to look too busy. So this was perfect for me. Obviously, another modification I made was the split hem. That's not in the pattern, but I just wanted to make it as long as I possibly could and then split the hem. I will say I wish that I had like one more skein. I used up every last bit of yarn, every single last bit. I think I got 11 balls of Peer Gynt, and I used them all up. I wish that I'd bought 12 and I could make it slightly longer. It kind of covers like most of my bum, but not all the way. So I wish that I had that extra skein. Maybe someday I'll go back and fix it, but not right now. So yeah, that's the other modification, is the split hem. I think those were all the modifications I did, but one thing I wanted to talk about that I wish that I had modified was that I wish I added more short rows in the neck, because there are short rows. If you've knitted a lot of color work yokes that include short rows, then you may know that sometimes the short rows are done before you start the color work, and sometimes they're done after you start the color work. And I don't really know which one I prefer to do myself, so I'll try to explain kind of what the difference would be. So if you picture this like circle as being the color work that goes around your shoulders, if you do, you have to raise the neck in the back somehow, right, to get the fit that you want with the short rows. If you do the short rows before you start the color work, then your color work will sit like straight, like this, right? So your sweater will still tilt like this, but your color work will be straight. If you do the short rows after you finish the color work, then all of your color work will tilt with your sweater. Does that make sense? So it's a slight tilt, and it doesn't make that much of a difference to me, I think. But anyway, different patterns write it differently. Some color work sweaters don't have short rows in at all, which means there's no like fit shaping, and I don't like that. I always add short rows, even if it's not written out in the pattern. But I will say, I wish that I had actually added both, and I might try that next time I do a color work sweater. And what I mean is adding short rows before the color work, and then also going in and adding a few short rows after the color work, so that I get the neck fit that I want, while also not having too much of a tilt, but also, and then also not having too much of like a lip in the back, or like a chunk, if you will, of like main color. Do you know what I mean? Like there's more dark back here than there is up front here. I'm not speaking very well. I hope I'm explaining myself properly. But yeah, there's more chunk of main color back there than there is up here. And yeah, I think that maybe doing a sort of half and half situation, it does mean that you have to do short rows twice in the pattern, and some people obviously would not want to have to do short rows twice. I don't mind short rows. I think they're not that difficult. So it doesn't bother me at all. I feel like I want to try doing it both. Yeah, I like the sweaters that are not feeling like they're choking me. Does that make sense? And this one definitely doesn't, but then sometimes does. Like every once in a while, I'll just feel like it's like too high on my neck and I kind of pull it down a little bit to go off my neck. I wish I didn't have to do that. So I think if I were doing something like this again, I would probably just add more short rows and do it before and after the color work to kind of even out that tilt. Next time I will do that. Obviously not going to go back and do it to the sweater because that would be taking apart most of the sweater in order to fix that, but maybe next time. Anyway, I have rambled on about the sweater for a really long time. I'm really, really pleased with it. I have been wearing it loads and loads, hiking and just being outside in general, gardening, whatever garden work that I've been doing. So I'm pleased, but I'm also very hot, so I'm going to take it off. There we go. Wow, that's vibrant. This is just a merino wool thermal base layer that I've been wearing because I went on a hike this morning. So anyways, you're getting like, it feels bright to me, but maybe it's not that bright. Anyway, yeah, so that's my main finished object. I've also made a lot of baby bonnets since the last time I spoke to you, just for various babies in my life, but I don't feel like I need to go over them. I do want to go over one of them that I'm working on now in a second, but those I can just, yeah, we don't have to worry about it. Yeah, and then the other finished object that I did was a cardigan for my daughter, and I will insert a picture, but maybe I'll also just do a b-roll later. And this was sort of just a scrappy trying to use up all these leftovers from my Stella quilt cushion that I made for my friend last year. And it turned out to be a really like nice spring Eastery cardigan. It also has mismatching buttons because I was at the store recently and my daughter was loose and she broke a bag of buttons, and so we had to buy them, and then we brought them home and they were all mismatched. None of them matched. So I was like, okay, well, these can go into your cardigan. And they actually work out. They're beautiful. They look perfect with all of the colors that are going on in that piece. So yeah. Hello. So different day, same angle, same time of day, same cat asking for attention down here, but different day. I am recovering from food poisoning now. So here we are. We're at the end of February now. Hopefully I can get this video out tomorrow or the next day. But I just quickly want to chat about Eloise's cardigan. So this is what it looks like. You've seen pictures of it already. She has worn it out a lot throughout the last month. I think I finished it maybe on the 4th of February, I want to say. So we're now at the 27th. So yeah, for the last like 3 weeks or so, she's been wearing it almost every day. She absolutely loves it. It's actually dirty, so if you saw that, sorry. There's chocolate on the front, I can see. But it's beautiful, it's colorful. It is garter stitch. So the pattern that I actually used was the Ellen's cardigan by PetiteKnit, but that cardigan actually looks completely different from what this ended up looking like in the end. So that one it's in stockinette stitch and it has pockets in the front. So basically I just used that pattern for the numbers only. Just I wanted the stitch count for the size that I wanted to make, and then after that I didn't really follow anything else that the pattern said to do. I made it longer than what that pattern calls for. I knit the sleeves completely differently, which I'll explain in a second, but yeah, this is how it turned out. All of it is basically scraps left over from other projects. Most of the scraps are left over from the Stella quilt cushion that I made last year. Yeah, and then whatever bits and bobs I had left over, including some that like I barely had any yarn for, so I just have like really thin stripes like the purple. I hardly had any of that left, so there's hardly any of that in the sweater, but anyway, it turned out well. It's really pilly actually. I'm not sure exactly which yarn is the pilliest, but Most of them are either merino or alpaca or a blend of merino and alpaca. So as you can see, the sleeves already have a lot of pills on them. Whatever, it's a kid's sweater. She runs and plays and jumps and rubs on things and does all sorts of activity in the sweater. So I'm not precious about it. I think especially toddler clothing that you make, you have to be really loose in your hold them very loosely. Don't, they're gonna get dirty, they're gonna get worn, and that's fine. That's what they're there for. So I decided to do garter stitch just because it looked more homemade to me. I feel like garter stitch looks more handmade, homemade than stockinette, and I think both of them definitely have their place. I used to not like garter stitch because I thought that it looked like unprofessional or too, I don't know, not as clean. But now that I have a kid, I'm not as professional and clean anymore. So I like this kind of thing. Yeah, being a mom has changed me in that regard. But as you can see, the mist matching buttons, I cannot say that for some reason. These blue ones do match, but then the other ones don't have any pairs. So these are the only 2 matching ones in the set. And she loves them. She always points out all the colors of them, and she shows everybody. She's so social and chatty. So she will go up to any stranger and be like, "Do you like my sweater? Look at my buttons. Look at all the colors on my sweater." So she's been doing a lot of that lately. The one thing I did differently in regards to the sleeves is that I actually knit the sleeves flat and then seamed them. So you can see this is the bottom of the sleeve. You probably can tell that there's a seam there. And then on the inside, you can definitely tell that there's a seam there. So the reason I did that is because it's in garter stitch, and so I didn't want to have to knit 1 round, purl 1 round, knit 1 round, purl 1 round. I just wanted to knit, and I still did the decreases as you normally would for sort of a normal shaped sleeve, which is why you can kind of see, I guess, that V, because I'm decreasing as I'm going. Did I say increasing before? I meant decreasing. I decreased as I went down the sleeve, and then at the end I seamed it up. I don't like seaming, so I actually don't know if it would have been more of a faff to purl every other row or to seam it all in the end. I don't know. I chose to seam. I think I'll stand by that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The other thing I will say is that I hadn't decided on what buttons to use yet when I did the button bands, so I didn't actually make buttonholes, which meant that I had to do afterthought buttonholes, which means you have to like force a hole in a location where there isn't a hole, which is fine, except that these buttons are massive, so I had to force a really big hole, and then I did have to kind of like sew along the edge of the hole to just reinforce that gap, and my sewing job wasn't that great. I also used a kind of fun yellow thread because the whole sweater is just crazy colors, so I thought, oh, it would be fun to have like a sort of contrast color for the thread, but it looks pretty terrible. I'll show it to you. So all of them kind of look like that. And it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. When she has the sweater done up, you can't even see it. It kind of adds to that homemade feel that the whole sweater has already. So I'm not too bothered by it, but it is something that I could have done way better than I did. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, there you go. Okay, now on to works in progress. I have 3 main whips that I'm working on right now, and so I'll talk about the baby bonnet first. This is a bonnet that I'm making for a friend who is having a unknown sex baby. She's not finding out if she's having a girl or a boy. She has 2 girls already, and she's having a baby in April. So I'm going to her baby shower next week, and I wanted to make her the Sawtooth quilt bonnet by Fox and Folk. So that's what I'm working on now. But I am completely unsure of whether I'm actually going to give this to her because I feel like it's not practical and it's taken me so long to get as far as I am now. I can usually knock out a baby bonnet in like a day to a day and a half's worth of knitting, especially for like a small baby. But this is like day 4 of working on this kind of monogamously, and it's driving me crazy. I'm well past the hardest bits, but I still feel like it's not worth it. I don't know. You tell me. So anyway, this is it, what I have. So this is also the first time I've ever made a bonnet in this sort of construction, starting from the back of the head rather than starting from the brim that goes around. So it starts with the quilt star in the back, and this is a garter stitch project. But what you can't tell, I guess now, maybe you can actually, is that all of these pieces are individually knitted and then they're all sewn together, which is incredibly fidgety, incredibly fidgety. There's so many ends. I was in End City yesterday. I'll insert a picture as I was trying to like piece all these things together. Because it's garter stitch, which always looks a bit more messy to me. And then it's so tiny, all the pieces. Sewing it was just like such a faff. You do like, this is your swatch basically. She has you do like half a swatch for swatching, and then you have to make like your tiny individual squares. So this is a square, this like the two colors here, and then this is a square with the two colors there. And yeah, they're all done individually, and then you sew it all up. And last year when I did the Stella quilt cushion, I definitely liked the construction that she had a lot more, where you are doing squares individually, but you're picking up stitches to attach to your previous squares rather than knitting them separately and then seaming them together. I just find that a lot more intuitive and a lot less fidgety and faffy. This was a faff. So yeah, this is how far I am. The reason why I'm unsure about giving it to her is because of the bulk of it. So this is the back of the head, and I'm knitting the size, so she's having a baby in April. I'm knitting the size 6 to 12 months so that the baby can wear it next winter. But because I've had to seam all of these bits together, the inside is quite bulky. It's got so many ends woven in, and it's got so many seam bumps. And I just I don't think that's going to be comfortable for the baby to wear unless the baby is sitting up the whole time. But like, what if the baby needs to lay down or something in the stroller to go to sleep? I don't know. Like, would that bother a 6, 9, 10-month-old baby? Potentially. It might bother me enough to not give it to her. So yeah, I think I'll finish the bonnet and then see how I feel about it after I block it. But I just don't think that amount of bulk in the back of a baby's head is practical for a bonnet. It's beautiful, but this was so much work for potentially not actually giving it to the person it's meant for. Also, the reason why I'm in between rows right now is because I'm working short rows. So basically, I get why she's written it this way, but you knit everything individually, you seam it all together, then you pick up stitches, which also took me forever because picking up stitches in garter for some reason is annoying. And now I'm just doing short rows back and forth. So I've had to pay attention to what I'm doing throughout this whole process, and I've had to really just, I don't know, get through it. It feels like just get through this kind of project rather than I'm enjoying this. Oh, this is interesting. So anyway, that's my my update on that little bonnet that I am going to finish, but potentially might not gift to the person it's meant for. And this is just scrap yarn. I don't know what it is, leftovers that have been in my stash for ages that I'm trying to get rid of. So that's that. Okay, I have 2 other works in progress that I want to talk about. Hopefully I'll be able to get through them before the sun goes down. I can sense that it's getting darker. Yes, I can very much sense that it's getting darker. Okay, first is the Mabel Meadow vest. Yay, this is something completely new that I didn't expect to actually do, and now I'm doing it. So this is the Mabel Meadow vest by Mipi, the label. And it looks really scrunched up right now because obviously it's lace and cable, so it's it won't look good until blocking, basically. But I am knitting this in Barocco Ultra Alpaca in the color Tiger's Eye. So it's like an orangey color, but if you look closely, it's got flecks of yellow and red also in it. And I am knitting the size large, but I'm knitting it on 4.5 millimeter needles instead of 5 millimeter needles. So I went down half a needle size. And then I'm knitting a size larger to compensate for it. So yeah, I am knitting this alongside my friend Beth, who I will post her Instagram here. She is knitting hers in a beautiful blue version, and we're doing it together to be part of the knit along that's Marlene Knits and Lydia are doing together. It's like the friendship knits or best friend knits or something like that. I can't remember, but I'll put the hashtag in. So we're knitting the same vest in completely different colors to for that knit along. I do really like the style of this vest. I don't know. I have knitted a few vests and I don't get as much wear out of them as I would like, but I am trying to change that because I do like the look of vests, but I just don't reach for them in my wardrobe a lot. So we'll see how much I actually end up wearing this, but hopefully more than I anticipate too, because the color is beautiful, the pattern is beautiful. I think it does go well with a lot of things in my wardrobe. I just forget to wear vests or just don't think about it, or I don't know how to wear them. We'll see. One thing about Beth, who's knitting this with me, she's my friend from church, and I kind of helped her with knitting like a year and a half ago, maybe was the first time that she picked up the needles, and she is now a really, really good knitter. And this is her first project doing lace and cables. She's never done either of them. So she's done so well. She's definitely had to frog a few times, like rip back some rows, but she's done so well, all things considered. So yeah, go support her Instagram page if you would like to, because she's fantastic and she's such a ray of sunshine. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else to say about that. I will update you when it gets a little bit bigger. I have put it down for the last few days so I can work on that bonnet, but I will get back into it as soon as that's finished. Okay, we're really losing the light, but the last whip that I want to show you is sort of a stash buster type project that I am doing, and this is a little vest for my daughter. I'm doing the Stockholm Slipover by PetiteKnit. That's the pattern. So yeah, I'm just trying to stash bust at this point. I have 2.5 balls of Drops Air in the color Wheat left over from a different project from a long time ago, and so I thought this would be perfect for that. And then I thrifted this kind of recently. I don't know what it is. I think it may be silk something, maybe silk alpaca. I don't know. It's a little bit fuzzy, but not that fuzzy. And there's definitely like a core thread in there. Yeah, there's like it's 2-ply and they're different. One of them is like a silk and the other one is maybe alpaca or something, but it's a lace weight. So, and it's just this really nice, very light kind of bubblegum pink color. And so together they sort of do this like marled effect on the fabric where the pink just kind of shows up in like a shimmeriness every once in a while. I don't know how well that's turning out on camera, but anyway, I think it's really cute. I'm knitting the size 3 to 4 years. Obviously, she's 2.5 right now, but she can wear it oversized and then she can wear it for the next year or two. I don't know. And yeah, I think it will just be a good playground staple, actually, because I do find sometimes when we're at the playground in like the late winter, early spring, or like even the autumn, she gets too hot in a sweater, but then just having a shirt is it's not warm enough for her. So I think this will be a happy medium for the playground. So she won't have any sleeves to get in her way. She won't get overheated, but she'll still have something cozy on her body. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I don't have anything else to really talk about, any other projects that are worth mentioning, but thank you for sticking around. I am planning on being at Fibers West this year, March 23rd, 22nd, I don't remember, March 20 something. I will be there with my friend Beth, and I'm looking forward to that. So if you see me, come say hi. I have had a few people say hi I had one person say hi to me at Fibers West who recognized me, and one person who said hi to me at Knit City, Vancouver, who recognized me. So that was kind of exciting. It's so nice to meet you. I'm sorry if I'm awkward. I try really hard not to be, but yeah, it's lovely. It's really lovely. Hopefully I'll be able to get back into posting a little bit more frequently. Yeah, it's just been difficult with sickness. And then also just with daylight. Like, we are now, the sun sets at around 5:30 now, but around the solstice it was at 4:10. So we have a lot more opportunities to film, like right now. Like, if we were in December, I would not be able to film right now. I mean, I still could without natural light, but it's so much nicer in the natural light. So thank you for bearing with me and sticking around. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're enjoying the last little bit of winter. I say last little bit of winter, but I feel like sometimes mid-February could be the last of winter, and it could also be the middle of winter, depending on where you are and what the season looks like. So we haven't had any snow yet. And I'm kind of devastated about it. I love snow, and obviously I don't want it like all the time, but the fact that we haven't had any in town this winter has been very sad. So, and I haven't done any snowshoeing and any cross-country skiing, which is also very sad. So I really hope that we get some so I'm able to do that again. Yeah, I don't want to miss out on a year of that. So anyway, hope you're doing well. Thank you.